Welcome to State of Tech. My name's Jared, and today we're going to talk about the top 5 reasons why you would choose an iPhone 7 over an Android device. Most specifically in this video, the Google Pixel XL, but there are a lot of Android devices that are similar in their functionality, so you can kind of apply some of these to why you would choose an iPhone over another phone, maybe a Samsung phone or something like that. So the first thing is messages, iMessages, or whatever you want to call it these days. The Messages app or the text messaging app on your iPhone just is a different experience. I mean, on the iPhone, you have the ability to send messages to other iPhones over a data network, which allows you to send a little bit faster, allows you to send bigger and more files. When you send somebody a photo, it's higher resolution than if it has to go through the the cell towers, technically the old school way, which is an MMS message, a multimedia message service, which compresses it, and usually it's just not a good experience. So iMessages or messages, or I think they dropped the I on a lot of their apps. It doesn't say iMessage anymore on my phone, but there's just a little bit more kind of cohesiveness there among other iPhone users. Now, when you go and send a photo message or something like that to an Android device, you're going to be going through that other process, that MMS, multimedia message service, which is going to compress it. It's just not going to be the same experience. So, it's kind of do most of your friends and family have an iPhone? Then maybe it's a little bit better experience because you're all on the same platform versus, there's been a lot of times where I've been using my Android phone primarily, and my wife and a lot of my friends have iPhones, and so when I send them messages or back and forth, it's not as good quality of an image as it is, especially if I try to send them a big image. It's just not as good a quality as if you were going iPhone to iPhone and using the iMessage or the Messages platform instead of using the data cell phone tower platform that is kind of the old school, the MMS platform. So that's a thing to consider. Now, the next thing to consider is the camera. I mean, the iPhone has a great camera. The iPhone 7, and specifically this phone right here, the 7 Plus, it has a really good camera. Now, the Google Pixel has a fantastic camera too. It takes great pictures, it shoots great video. So, what really is the difference? Well, the iPhone 7 Plus specifically has the dual camera. And the dual camera, what that technically gets you is 2x zoom. Both of these cameras here have a different lens on them, essentially. One of the lenses is wider and one of the lenses is more of a telephoto. So you can technically tap to go from 1x to 2x and zoom in a little bit and get closer to your subject. Whereas with an Android phone that only has a single camera, or even another iPhone that only has a single camera, you have to either zoom in, which when you zoom in and you don't have the dual camera, you're degrading the quality of the image, or you have to zoom with your legs, which means walking closer to whatever it is that you want to take a picture of. So that 2x zoom definitely is a cool feature. It's definitely, if you want some zoom in your camera that isn't going to affect the image quality too much, then you're definitely, would want to choose an iPhone 7 Plus over an Android phone that doesn't have a similar functionality, most specifically the Google Pixel. Even the Google Pixel XL doesn't have a dual camera. It doesn't have an ability to zoom in on an image without degrading the quality a little bit, so it's kind of a bummer, and that's where the iPhone shines a little bit. Now, the third thing is accessories. For anybody who's had an iPhone and then also had an Android phone, you know that there are tons of cool things for your iPhone and there are more limited things for Android. Most specifically, again, Google Pixel and other more obscure phones, that you can't necessarily go and buy in any store. The Google Pixel has a very limited amount of cases and different stuff like that to protect and style your phone, whereas there's everything under the moon for the iPhone that you can get, regardless of what your style is, your personality. There's just all sorts of ways and things that are great for the iPhone. and not so much for the Android when it comes to accessories. Even connectable accessories, there are more typically connectable accessories for the iPhone than there are Android. There has been a lot more come out for Android lately, but still the iPhone, just people build stuff for the iPhone. It's just, even though there's more Android phones in the world than there are iPhones, there's more iPhones as far as the one specific kind of phone. Like, it's hard to build accessories for Android because there's so many different phones and variations and software, where the iPhone, there's just one and a couple of different sizes, and that's about it. And it makes it easier for accessory manufacturers to design and develop stuff for the iPhone. So definitely more accessories, and that is a definite huge pro in the category of choosing an iPhone over an Android Google Pixel phone. Next is apps. Now, even though we live in a world where most developers are putting out apps for both iPhone and Android, still we see apps with more features or apps only existing on iPhone and not yet on Android. A recent example would be the release of the Super Mario Run game from Nintendo. Super Mario Run came out on the iPhone and still is not yet available. It's available to sign up for the beta invite or the invite when it does launch, but it's still not available on Android. And so a lot of times you'll get apps on iPhone, you won't get an app on the Android for either a while or maybe not ever. I know there are some software that I use for my business. They have an app for the iPhone, and I asked, when is an app for the Android? And they'll say, we just don't have that many people that are asking for that. We don't know, we have more of our customers are iPhone users. So we designed and developed an iPhone app first, and that is a common thing that happens. And especially if you have apps that are Mac specific, that don't have a Windows version of their app, that don't have another app for somewhere else, and you use those apps together between your phone and your laptop. There are a lot of apps that work together on the Mac and the iPhone, but don't necessarily work on the Mac and an Android device, which is a bummer. So they never end up developing an Android device or an app for another computer platform. For those of you that are not Apple, like MacBook Pro, Mac users, you might miss out on even that experience. And I know, when you're using, to go back to messages, when you're on an iPhone and a Mac, you've got messages on the Mac. You could respond to text messages and everything on the Mac, on your phone. It's on your iPad. It's just a really all-around good ecosystem that kind of falls apart when you go to Android, unless you're using, some sort of Google Hangouts with Google Voice, and you're using some other more intrusive Google services. It's possible, but it's a little more challenging to do. For me, I would use Pushbullet to be able to respond to text messages from a browser on my computer when I'm using my Android device. But I don't need to do that. The Mac comes with everything that I need, and it's just a little bit more cohesive of an experience. And that kind of slides into my last one, which is the Mac experience, which I kind of have mentioned a few things already. Messages being on the computer. You can answer phone calls on your computer. If you've got a set of headphones in, you don't even have to pick up your phone. You can answer phone calls. You could respond to text messages. You have data that syncs between your computer and your phone, so that you can have kind of a more cohesive experience there, which if you're on Android, or even if you're on Android and a Windows PC, or Android and a Mac, it's not as cohesive of an experience because you've got to use more Google services, which typically run more in a browser, and it's just a little bit more challenging. It's not impossible, but it's just not as good of an overall experience that Apple provides for the whole ecosystem of Apple products, which is easy for them to do because they have all the products, they have everything there. With Google, we don't have Google actual full PCs. We have Google Chromebooks. Those aren't really a PC. You can't exist on a Chromebook that easily, especially in the line of work that I'm in. And so having a cohesive experience definitely adds to the overall quality of life when using your mobile device. So that's going to do it for my top 5 reasons that you would choose an iPhone over a Google Pixel or Google Pixel XL, or maybe even any other Android phone for that matter. If you want to see the flip side of this, make sure to check out the other video, which is the top 5 reasons you'd choose a Google Pixel over an iPhone. Might have a compelling argument for you there as well. So give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe to our channel if you want to be notified when new videos come out. We'd love to have you along and be able to, see you back on another video. We appreciate you watching this video, and we hope to have you here soon on the next State of Tech video. So take care.